Much love to everybody out there. I hope you're well. I hope you're blessed. And I hope you are walking in the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Creator. And I hope you are a child of the Most High. Now, a lot of people may get offended at this and think that I am in no such way a pagan. I can't be a heathen. I can't be any of this. The bottom line, and the truth be told, is if you celebrate the pagan holiday of Christmas, you are not a child of the Most High. Now, before you shut this off, before this completely offends you, let's read what Scripture says. First, I'd like to point us to the small commandments of do not walk in the manners of the nation. Commandment number 5. We have two verses here. We have Leviticus and we also have Deuteronomy. Now, let's look at this as the verses that they are. It says, do not walk in the manners of the nation. And ye shall not walk in the manners of the nation, which I cast out before you. For they committed all these things, and therefore I abhorred them. Leviticus 20:23. Now, let's define what all these things are. The things that he's talking about that they're doing are things that go against the laws, statutes, and commandments of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Those are our commandments of what we should and what we shouldn't do. Now, the next commandment is, when you are to come into the land which Yahuwah Eloheka gives you, you shall not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. Deuteronomy 18:9. Now, our Creator is a very jealous Elohim. And I would like to go over a video, not even a video, I'd like to go over this webpage into this video, and I'd like to put this together for you guys, for those who do not believe or do not understand what I'm saying. When you are getting on your knees and you're opening presents in front of a Christmas tree that you have decorated up and you have an angel or a star on the top of it, you may think it means one thing, but what it really means and what you're doing is you're participating in a pagan ritual. You are doing what the nations do. You are doing what the heathens do. If you want to be a child of the Most High, you will not do these things. These are the times of year we are separated from the world completely, even more than before. We don't participate in this stuff at all. You run from Christmas. You run from New Year's. You run from Easter. You run from all of these pagan celebrations. Our Creator's Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, as most people know as Jesus the Christ, was not born on December 25th. This is called Saturnalia. This is not when he was born. He was born on Yom Teruah, the Feast of Trumpets, more than likely September 11th, which is very funny because that's when all the evil that they did upon the world began. Let's read this page. Humans as a species love to take inspiration from different cultures, customs, and traditions, and believe it or not, Christmas is no different. If you thought these cozy traditions you knew and loved were just about celebrating Christmas, think again. Things like kissing under a mistletoe, caroling, wreaths, and even gift giving were all aspects of pagan holidays that were adapted into Christmas celebrations in the early years. Decorating trees, feasting with loved ones, hanging up socks by the fireplace, and drinking yourself silly are no different. They are all part of pagan history and sacred holidays. In fact, most of the cultural aspects we associate with Christmas are steeped in pagan roots. Some pagan traditions that have become associated with Christmas: gift giving, the image of Santa Claus, Christmas stockings, Christmas caroling, decking the halls with holly, and decorating trees. Well, who are the pagans? First things first, what do we mean when we say pagan? And I will take this, let me pause real quick, and I will tell you what a pagan is. A pagan is anybody who is not obeying the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Creator. You are a heathen. You're a Gentile. The Hebrews 8 has no renewed covenant for Gentiles. The renewed covenant is for the house of Yashrael. You want to be part of the house of Yashrael because you want to obey the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator. So if you are outside of this, if you are celebrating Christmas, you are a pagan. So let's continue on. This is a sweeping term that encompasses anyone from Romans to the Norse and Scandinavia. As Christianity spread through Europe in the early ADs, missionaries got to know a lot of different groups of people with varying religious systems and beliefs. All of these people in religions were lumped into the catch-all term of pagan. Although Christians had the goal of spreading their religion across Europe, they were still quite fascinated by many of the customs and ways of the pagans. Clearly, they were fascinated enough to pick up a few of those beliefs and traditions and adapt them as part of the Christian celebrations. The winter solstice celebration. Keep reading, you'll find that Christmas is inspired by traditions from the Romans, Celtics, Norse, Druids, and more, all pagan. At the time, all of these different groups shared one big celebration that just happened to fall around Christmas time, the winter solstice. People living in the northern hemisphere celebrate winter solstice, or the shortest day of the year, smack bang in the middle of December. And this is why Christmas just so happened to fall around the same time as many existing pagan holidays. The winter solstice was a huge part of pagan life, as they were primary agricultural people. Winter marked the end of the year's harvest and the chance to enjoy the company of loved ones and rest from toiling the fields. Pagans could stop farming through the winter and instead devoted themselves to worshiping their various gods and celebrating with those around them. As winter in the northern hemisphere tends to be dark, cold, and hungry period of time, the winter solstice was celebrated to help keep people entertained and enjoy themselves until the sun rolled around again. So now that you have an idea of the background, let's look at some pagan traditions that have become associated with Christmas. Gift giving and Saturnalia. Not only is December a time to celebrate winter solstice, but between the 17th and 24th of the month, the Romans also celebrated Saturnalia. This was a pagan holiday in honor of the agricultural god Saturn. Romans would spend the week of Saturnalia, much like how we spend Christmas holidays today, feasting, drinking, giving gifts, and being joyful. These days we fork out lots of money on Christmas gifts, but back then the Romans exchanged small gifts for the sake of good luck. The idea was to give in the hope of bringing in a bountiful harvest the next year. Rather than huge lists of gifts to give, the Romans also shared only one gift with one other person. Somewhere along the line, giving gifts for luck and prosperity became a multi-million-dollar business. Isn't that funny? Santa's image in Christmas stockings. Our current modern-day image of Santa Claus, clad in red fur with a big white beard, was largely developed by Coca-Cola in the 1930s. But the idea of an old man giving gifts to children dates much earlier than that, back to the time of the pagans. Father Christmas, otherwise known as Saint Nicholas, was a patron saint of children, the poor, and prostitutes. Living around 4th century AD, Saint Nicholas was a generous bishop who was known for giving gifts to the poor, sporting a big beard and long cloak, much like the Santa we know and love. Even before Saint Nicholas, there was another bearded old man called Odin. This deity was worshipped by the early Germanic pagan tribes. Traditionally portrayed as an old man with a long white beard with an 8-legged horse called Sleipnir, who he would ride through the skies, just like Santa's reindeer. During the winter, kids would fill their booties with carrots and straw and leave them by the chimney for Sleipnir to feed on. Odin would fly by and reward the children with little presents in their booties, much like we do with Christmas stockings today. The Santa Claus we all imagine in our heads today is a mishmash of the generous St. Nicholas, the god Odin, and Sleipnir, and Coca-Cola's iconic red-dressed character. Christmas carols. While the carols we sing for Christmas are undeniably Christian, and guys, as anyone knows, I am not Christians. Christians do not follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Creator. So yes, they are so-called Christian, but they are not things that we should be celebrating or anything of that nature. Back to this. The tradition itself of going door to door, singing to your neighbors, comes from another pagan tradition called wassailing. The rather funny word comes from the Anglo-Saxon phrase ways hail, translating to good health. Every year, wassailers would roam through their villages in small groups, singing loudly with the aim of banishing evil spirits and wishing good health to those around them. No wassailing group was complete without their traditional drink on hand, made from mulled ale, curdled cream, roasted apples, eggs, spices, and sugar. In the 13th century, St. Francis took inspiration from these happy choirs and started the tradition of Christmas caroling. Kissing under the mistletoe. Ever wondered about the correlation between mistletoe and kissing? Well, funny enough, the tradition goes all the way back to the pagans. Everyone from the Romans and the Celts to the Druids and the Norse had a thing about mistletoe. It was considered to be a highly sacred plant involved in several pagan rituals. In the Roman world, mistletoe honored the god Saturn. To keep him happy, they would perform fertility rituals underneath the sprigs of mistletoe. Yes, that's exactly what it sounds like. We certainly toned it down as far as mistletoes are considered and left it with just a simple kiss. Probably a good idea since family is always around. In the world of Druids, mistletoe symbolized peace and joy. In times of war, if enemies were to meet underneath woodland mistletoe, then they would drop their weapons and form a truce until the next day. In a way, kissing is a form of truce. Decking the halls with holly. Mistletoe wasn't the only sacred plant for pagans. Holly was another holy plant connected with the god Saturn. During the Saturnalia holiday, Romans made holly wreaths to exchange as gifts for good luck. At the time of Saturnalia, early Christians began to celebrate Christmas. However, they were only often persecuted for practicing their new religion. It was lucky that Christians coincided with Saturnalia, as it allowed Christians to harbor a cover for their Christmas celebrations. To avoid detection and make it look like they were celebrating Saturnalia, Christians started hanging holly wreaths around their homes. This allowed them to recognize other Christians and still do something nice to celebrate their sacred holiday. Eventually, as pagans decreased, holly became a symbol of Christians instead of Saturnalia. Okay, all anti-Christ, all anti-creator. Christmas tree decorating. We sure have a lot of inspiration for the Romans, and tree decorating is just another borrowed tradition. Besides feasting, drinking, and exchanging gifts during Saturnalia, Romans also hung small metal ornaments on trees outside their homes. Each of these little ornaments represented a god, either Saturn or the family's personal patron saint. Early Germanic tribes practiced a similar tree decorating tradition, this time with fruits and candles to honor their god Odin throughout the winter solstice. Christians seem to have merged to the tree decorating with ornaments, candles, and fruits to make Christmas tree decorating one extravagant tradition. Okay, so there it is. This is it, and this is the answer to, if anyone wanted to understand why this is all pagan, everything here is pagan. If you are giving gifts, if you are involved with Satan Claus, and envision Satan with C-L-A-W-S, Satan Claus. That is what you're seeing here, and you're not seeing it. Christmas stockings, Christmas caroling. If you're involved in any of this and you're okay with it, then you're not on the kingdom road, and you are not going to be a child of the Most High. You're not going to make it. We are told to get rid of this stuff. We are told not to do what the pagans do. We are told not to walk in the manners of the nations. So if you have this stuff in your house, it's time to get rid of it. Don't follow through this pagan holiday with this and it just be the last one. Make your stand right now, because if you go through this holiday and you do not make your stand right now, you will make the stand next year. Make it. Seek our Creator where He is able to be found. He has days. He has feasts. He has happy times. We're supposed to keep them. They're in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And before you say, well, Jason, Jesus did away with the laws of God. No, He didn't. That's yet another myth. Probably for another time, for another video, but anybody who follows these channels know exactly that the laws, statutes, and commands of our Creator are good for all time. They've stood the test of time. They will stand the future test of time. They will enhance your life. They will enhance your families. They will enhance everything that you do. All you have to do is read them. You could see them. They're listed here. Yahoo and the Torah. YahooandtheTorah.net. If you go to this website, YahooandtheTorah.net, the very first thing that you have are the 174 most beautiful things that you guys will ever see. It's called Be Fruitful and Multiply and Replenish the Earth. Subdue it. Things that are good, things that are holy, things that our Creator wants us to do. It's time to turn away from these pagan times. It's time to get rid of this evil in our lives. Don't be partakers with the world. Be set apart. Be those odd people. Yes, you will lose family. You will lose friends. You will lose those who you thought were your friends. That's what it's about. It's about getting rid of it. That's what our Messiah said. You have to be okay losing mother and father and sons and daughters and things of that nature, because to seek our Creator, not everybody's going to want to do it, but if you want to do it, you must do it. I hope this helps somebody. I love y'all. I'm out.